Hi and welcome to IT Chronicles 10 in Tech. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm with my co-host Carlos Casanova.
Hey Kirsty.
And we're coming to you from Knowledge 18 in Las Vegas. And it's our pleasure today to be talking to Karl Bietsch from Navvia. Hey Karl.
Happy to be here, thanks.
Hey Karl. Hey Karl, so we've been in the space for quite a bit, and especially the work that you guys do from the process perspective. The keynote this morning I hear is really right up your alley in terms of what you guys have been really preaching and really promoting. Tell us a little bit about how the keynote went and how you guys really play in that space.
Yeah, I thought the ServiceNow CEO today did a really great job of kind of outlining some of the challenges that people have with getting the kind of outcomes they want with implementing.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with thinking about the end in mind at the beginning, business outcomes, and working through that. So, and I think it was a great point to emphasize. Usually, for the last few years, a lot of these conferences are really focused on the technical side of things, and kind of I thought lost sight of the human side of things. And it was refreshing to hear him bring that up as a key topic.
Right, right. So it seems interesting. Obviously he's fairly new to the position. And yeah, we've had a few folks kind of mentioning that they seem to be tacking more towards the root issue, which a lot of us that have been around in a while we've known. It doesn't matter what tool you have, it's not going to really solve all the issues. So it's the people side of it, and again, that's really where you guys have really been playing strong there.
And perhaps for some of our people listening to this who don't know what Navvia actually does, you just want to, in a nutshell, say, what does Navvia do? What's Navvia going to help them with?
Sure, it's an enterprise business and process analysis tool, so it helps you with process design, requirements gathering, and really building a tight service design package so you know what you want to implement. But the key thing is having those conversations early up front so you can start to affect organizational change, align the organization, and drive out requirements that are really going to hit the mark with the first agile development effort.
Right. Yeah, and that's the key, right? It's like if you're not scoping it out properly up front, and you don't really know what goals you're trying to achieve, and then not clearly articulated to everyone, you get to the back end. Did we meet our goals? Did we not? It's easy if you're trying to mask some of that. But again, the tools and the mechanism that you guys leverage really make that very clear, visually and whatnot, for everybody to just kind of really see where you're at in that stream.
There was a conversation we were having earlier, Carlos, about when people go onto a new tool and they all of a sudden think, but this isn't the way it worked in the old one. So they've changed because they didn't like what they were doing before, and so they've changed to a new tool because they want it differently, and then all of a sudden they're wanting you to make their tool exactly the same as the last one. So I think that's where Navvia can really help, by really looking at their processes and say, well, this is it. The way you were doing it before, you didn't like it, so don't do a lift and shift onto a new platform.
And he even mentioned that this morning. Lift and shift was in his speech, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is organizational change happens up front. When you start talking about the process first, about how you need to realign your organization to support what you want to automate. And if you don't have those conversations, or they're shortcut up front, the organizational change issue comes back to bite you later because people haven't socialized what the future state is. They're not getting their mindset ready for it. The organization's not adapting to reposition to support it.
Right.
So it's really an important point.
Yeah. Like you're saying, let's rebuild what we always had that we complained about.
Yeah. Because we feel comfortable there.
Yeah, we feel comfortable there. So we're going to basically just literally create the same exact problem somewhere else.
We've just spent however much to move to a new platform, but we just want it to be like the old one.
Yeah, so how do you, going into an organization that has that challenge, and most of them do, how do you convince them because that is the natural, we're comfortable here. So how do you convince them to open up their eyes and really be open to, maybe this isn't exactly how you want to do it in the future. Maybe it's how you've done it in the past, but not how how do you guys overcome that challenge? And it's a big one, because it is cultural.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting, and a lot of times when you're doing these on a big enterprise scale, you're bringing different work groups together, and maybe they had, like merging 4 help desks together. Each help desk is going to have certain, and then a lot of people think, process is procedure, you know,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
get wrapped up in that.
Yes.
But usually when you start socializing and talking to people, they realize they have more in common than they have different.
Yep.
And you know, what we've done with our tool is, I mean, we were consultants that help people do all this implementation work, and we basically leaned out that whole effort of assessing current state, designing process, tried to really compress that, because that's a problem IT organizations have.
Yes.
Usually they take on these strategic initiatives while they're trying to keep the lights on, run critical applications, and it's hard, and you know, I understand why they're time compressed and maybe take
Yep.
the shortcuts because they don't have enough time, but we try to really build something that will help people work through that quickly, provide guidance, straw man templates
Yep.
to steer you in the right direction.
Right. So how far, the term I use, you know, how far left do you push your solutions? You know, from, if you look in left to right, you know, from business, hey, we have an idea for a product or service in a business sense, through the transition of, okay, now technology operations, technology services, might be development, might be just support, you know, kind of goes to our more just like, how far left are you guys able to push with the principles and the approach that you guys provide?
I mean, it really is up to the client and what their appetite is, you know? I mean, a lot of people, you know, for sake of time, you know, want to take a more prescriptive approach and maybe tailor. So our tool does well for that. But if you're, you know, if you want to use a tool like ServiceNow and automate some process they don't have a module for, you can.
Right.
You know, but that's where you really need to take the time, though, to understand, okay, what is the current facilities management process we have currently?
Yes.
Let's design the future state, and it's really a you know, measure twice, cut once. If you've taken the time up front and you built good requirements, the resources you invest in the development effort and the time it takes to get to the finish line will be shortened quite a bit because you're working with really good requirements.
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing that I find is even in organizations that are a little bit more mature in their taking in the work, you know, to whether it's development, whether they're pushing it out through a provider, SaaS or whatever, and then the support side. Until they really get the intake side of it, you know, more cleaned up, more regimented in how it happens, even if it works well, there's usually a perception of it's taking too long, right? And you know, sometimes it's like, well, that's because the ask wasn't clearly articulated. That's the requirements. And by the time we get through all the details of what you're really asking for, they feel like, hey, you just wasted 3 months of my time. And at the same time, so you know, the IT side is looking bad. So that's why I was wondering, you know, how much you're seeing of that in the future for you guys to like help solve. That's a huge issue.
Yeah.
Even if we get the IT side working better, if the inbound is still kind of messed up, you know, if they're not taking it in the, you know, on the requirement side, if they're not getting that straightened out, it seems like that's still a huge challenge.
It is, and you know, I think we give people the tools to take that on, because that's one of the things that he talked about this morning, is that it's a challenge and it's a commitment and it's important and it needs to be supported at the executive level. But you know, what we've done with the tool is give people the ability to kind of work through that faster in a more efficient way.
Right.
And the thing that's good about it as well is it provides a repeatable, structured way to do that, regardless of whether you're implementing ServiceNow, Workday, SAP, or building any kind of thing on any platform. It gives you a disciplined way to do that, application after service, application after application.
Right.
And that knowledge is very useful, and you can have, you know, PMs focused on doing those type of transformation efforts.
Right.
And it's just a different process with different stakeholders, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, anything you can do to shorten that downtime that by a lot of businesses seen as wasted time. You know, what are you doing asking all these questions? You're not doing anything. I can't see anything happening. Anything you can do to do that is really that's where the business value comes. So anyway, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. I wish we could talk for a little bit longer about that, but
it's been a pleasure speaking with
thanks
you
for your
both as
time,
well.
Karl.
Thank you
Karl.
very much.
Thank you.